Alright, everyone, welcome back to the Study Prep Guys channel. It is nice to be back with you. And for today, as we continue this CSEC 2025 journey through at least all that I could do, I have some great news for you today, guys. Someone mailed me the CSEC 2025 paper 2. This is at least a projection. I don't know who actually sent it. That person's information is confidential. But let me tell you something. If we are right on the jackpot with this one here, and this is actually because some anonymous person will not tell you about who the person actually is, but it's somebody in relation to CSEC. And if this is the document for CSEC 2025, you have a disclosure of what the questions will be. So, guys, hopefully this does not reach CSEC and they don't change anything. But in relation to that, we have that in place. Well, I got it and I'm gonna do it because I'm the study prep guy. So let's start on this matter. So we have two choices here. We have I don't put in the answer because I want to doing this live streams, guy. Yeah, retentions are very low and I don't want to take a lot of your time. So we had two choices. We had 12th Night by William Shakespeare, and we had Anansi, and I choose Anansi because it's simplistic. So for this question, it says the playwright uses the character Anansi to explore issues of power. Write an essay in which you describe two incidents in which Anansi interacts with someone who is considered powerful. For one of the instances described, you must discuss how Anansi's actions affect another character. Finally, you must examine how the playwright uses one dramatic technique in the presentation of power relationships. Guys, I had to make this video quickly because I was scheduled to make other videos related to CSEC and I was a bit busy, so my schedule is a bit off. I'm supposed to make I think it's 08 2025, but I had to scrap that because English B is a bit more complicated than probably that. But let's start. The theme of power in Alistair compels Anansi. So Anansi masterfully weaves the character into a narrative that explores the multifaceted nature of power. Through Anansi's cunning schemes and interaction, Campbell delves into the nuances of power dynamics, highlighting the interplay between intelligence, authority, and moral integrity. At the heart of the play, Anansi is a trickster figure, meaning that he has very much quick-witted. He's quick-witted, and ingenuity enable him to navigate a world rife with challenges and adversaries. Anansi power is not derived from physical strength or traditional authority, but from his sharp mind and ability to manipulate situations to his advantage. So, one of the culture theme in Anansi's idea that power can be both as a tool for survival and a potential source of corruption. Anansi's cleverness allows him to outwit more formidable foes, showcasing the positive aspects of his cunning. However, his manipulation tendencies also expose the darker side of his character, as he often prioritizes his own gain over the well-being of others. The duality serves as a poignant reminder, or a pungent, I would say, reminder that power, when wielded irresponsibly, can lead to ethical compromises and strained relationship. So, one example of this in the story is when he actually manipulates snake, or in the Greek mythology, or at least the mythology that is traditionally known in Africa, the snake is the Oni, or Oni the python, and we have Osibo the leopard, and we have Menot the fairy, and we will not go into that part because it's not actually part of the play Anansi by Alistair Campbell. But two instances of that do occur is where the instance where Trick actually manipulated when Anansi actually manipulated Snake. And for that instance, I will put a link below. This is a play that I was literally seeing the play. I went at the theater and actually saw the play visibly. I will post a link to that video down below. So in relation to that, he actually tricked Snake and Osiba the leopard, and the act of acquiring the stories represents an triumph or traditional authority and is assertion of intellectual power. So how does it affect Snake? Snake is basically manipulated. He is tied to a bamboo tree, as they say, and Snake no longer could do anything. So how does that tie in, and how does that affect another character? As I said before, I had to rush this. It was very quick, so I didn't add that part in. But let me explain it to you right now. We could take notes. In the story, Nancy, after Snake is tied to a bamboo tree, Lion comes along and says, Nancy, how can you do this? This is impossible. And he said, I don't know how you do it, but you did it. And he said, I think the phrase was, I don't know, I don't think your methods are the best methods, but at least you did it. Something like that, something in relation to that. So it affected two characters. Two characters are pivotally influenced in this scenario. We have Anansi. Anansi is the overall winner. Snake is basically he takes the L. He basically loses in this situation, and then it affects Tiger. It affects Anansi at the end of the day because Anansi, the stories become named Anansi stories because Tiger challenged Anansi to capture Snake, and he did it. Even though he did it in a very good way, he did it in a very cunning way, and that is how the illustration of power is utilized, and that's how it affects another character. And that character in this case is being Snake, which is in a very negative manner. It affects him in a very negative manner. And then we have Tiger in a very positive, well, kind of negative manner. But the overall winner in this case is Anansi at the end of the day, and that's for that. So moving on, we have section B, poetry. We have Little Boy Crying, and we have The Woman Speaks to the Man Who Was Employed Her Son. Both of these poems deal with the theme of parenting. So with the theme of parenting actually in play, so we have the theme of parenting in the scenario. Give me a second, let me put that right up right now. Sorry. So we'll be looking into tree, as it relates to Little Boy Crying and The Woman Speaks to the Man Who Was Employed Her Son, and how they deal with issues of parenting. So let's do a little bit of talking before we move on. So Little Boy Crying. So first of all, there is a big contrast between parenting. So on one end, it is a father basically disciplining his child, and then we have on the other hand we have a mother, a single parent. So before, I just want to get that clarity before I move on. So in that context, there is a contrast and differentiation between the two as we move on. So alright, that's that. Let's move on. So both of them, or both of these, deal with parenting and children. So in Little Boy Crying, Marilyn Morris delves into the emotional landscape of a father dealing with the aftermath of disciplining his child. The poem captures a moment of intense emotion from the child's perspective, and let me just sublimate that to make it more simplistic for you, the audience, to understand. It is basically, you ever have that feeling, like basically like in that sense, or in a sentimental manner, wherein your father or your peer, or basically your parent in general, in this case it's his father disciplining him, and as a child you may be like, why you discipline me with body, why you beating me, why you lash me with this broom, And in that same sense is the same sentiment that the child is having. He is being like, "Dad, why are you beating me?" And the father basically feels a sense of remorse. He feels a sense of guilt, and it uses visual imagery in a form of, basically, I think it's a rain. I could be incorrect, but in this scenario, it's a child. It's a child. It's a childlike emotion that you have when a parent is disciplining you in a sensical manner. So, and that's what that poem is basically about. That's what it's basically saying. However, in contrast, Lorna Gooderson's The Woman Speaks to the Man Who Has Employed Her Son addresses parenting from the perspective of a mother confronting a man who has lured her son into a life of danger and exploitation. The poem is a powerful monologue in which the mother articulates her deep sorrow, and it's in a biblical allusion to the same Judas Iscariot. It's symbolic of that biblical illusion of Judas Iscariot. So Goodison's portrayal of the mother's voice is being pungent and fierce, capturing the anguish of a parent who feels powerless to protect her child from external threats. The mother's plea to the man who has employed her son reveals the broader societal issues that impact parenting. And the son, in a sentimental manner, sees this employer as a father figure, since there is a lack of father figure in his remorseful life in a drastic sense. So it's an evocative language that conveys the mother love and desperation, as well as her condemnation of the exploitative system that endangers her child's future. The poem serves as a pungent critique of the societal structures that undermine parental efforts to safeguard the child's well-being. So both poems deals with the issues of parenting in its own central manner, in its own pivotal manner, very much pivotal manner. And for you there who have been watching me, I liked to announce a bit of a challenge in relation to CSEC 2025. If you have finished, if you want me to critique and actually correct your 2025 papers that you work on your own, send me some pictures and I could critique it if you want. I am available for that. Anyways, let's move on. So we have Section C. This is a prose segment. We have Animal Farm by George Orwell. I did make a whole video on this, covering off the whole poem in its or the story in its complexity as it is, and you could go watch that video and come back to this one if you want. But if you're here, you could stay. And then we have short story Mark MC Watt and Hazel Simeon's McDonald. The story is the man of the house and Marlboro Ruby and the social worker. Both stories about economical challenges, but we'll deal with option 7, which is the two grandmothers and two dado in memoriam, which is very simplistic stories, which involves grandmothers. We have two grandmothers in the short story. The two grandmothers, as the name suggests, and we have two dado in memoriam. So it gives us basically 3 requirements in this segment here. Describe what happens in each story. Compare the grandmother's influence on the daughter's view of herself. Of the 3 grandmothers presented in the 2 stories above, comment on the effectiveness of the writer's presentation of one of the grandmothers. This is a total of 4 to 4 marks. So in terms of structure, language, and even your intent needs to be in alignment with the author's intent. So that's very much important. So let's go in this here. So in the influence of the 2 grandmothers, the influence of grandmothers and 2 grandmothers, and Tedada in Memoriam in 2 Grandmothers by Olive Senior. The story is narrated by a young girl who alternates her time between her 2 grandmothers, Grandma Dell and Grandma Elaine, as you guys know. Grandma Dell lives a simple, traditional life in a rural village, emphasizing humility, hard work, religious values, and then we have the other grandmother who's the polar opposite. And the author utilizes the idea of contrast in this story. Both of them are the absolute polar opposites. So one is a church person, one is traditional, one is untraditional. One is up there, as you would say it in the Caribbean, and one is just, they're just so different. Her influence is a demonstration through her nurturing ethical nature. On the other hand, grandmother Eileen, who resides on the city, introduces a girl to a modern, materialistic lifestyle, focusing on appearances and social status. Her influence is seen in the glamorous and sophisticated experience she provides. Through these contrasting experiences, the girl learns about different aspects of her heritage and the diverse influence shaping her identity. And then we have Into Dada in Memoriam by Polly Marshall. The young girl, also the protagonist, visits her grandmother, Tadada, or Dada in Barbados. Dada is a proud, strong-willed woman who takes immense pride in the island's natural beauty and traditional way of life. Her influence is demonstrated through her efforts to connect her grandmothers to the cultural heritage, highlighting the generational and cultural divide. The subtle contest between Dada and her grandmother underscores the enduring legacy of traditional values amidst the forces of modernization. So, in this story, there is a general competition, I would say, or a standing ovation in terms of modernization and traditional heritage. Alright, in both stories, the grandmothers play pivotal roles in shaping the identities and values of their grandchildren. Through their distinct personalities and interactions, the grandmothers have a lasting effect not only on the present but on the entirety of their lives as sheer givers, or what you would call passing the baton to the next generation, demonstrating the profound influence that elder family members can have on the younger generation. And guys, that would be everything for us on this video. I hope you enjoy. Like, subscribe, share, and if you're interested in sending me um your CSEC past papers that you have completed on 2025 papers and even 2024, you could send it to me directly. So thank you guys, thank you for your time, and see you guys on the next video.